Hello, I'm Peter Bell, and I'm here with Mrs. Janet Lee-Sheriff from Golden Predator. Hello, Janet.
Hi, Peter. How are you?
Very good, thanks. Nice to be talking to you. First time I've had a chance to do an interview with you.
Yeah, great. Thank you for the invitation.
Uh, you're welcome. Thank you for the recent trip to the Yukon. I was invited to the Yukon Mining Alliance and had a chance to visit the Golden Predator Three Aces processing plant and was impressed.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's a project that's pretty exciting and something that's the first in the Yukon. So I think we are all looking forward to what it can do for us.
Chemical-free gold plant. The idea apparently is out there, and great to see you guys be the first to really seize it and run with it, as far as I'm aware here. And amazing that it's really a second a background a focus for the company now with what's happened at Brewery Creek this year, with you finding a way to get the permits in place for that. It's given you a big opportunity.
Yes, yes. The plant started. Sorry, there's just a bit of background noise. The plant started as a way for us to better manage the actual recovery and results of the bulk sample program up at Three Aces. This high grade gold and very nuggety at surface. We just weren't seeing the drill results representing it properly. And the idea of sending it away, we knew that we wouldn't both
Yeah.
gather the necessary technical information and probably not see the accurate results. So, what started out of necessity has turned into something that's really providing us with a great deal of technical information and scientific information about how we can potentially and continually test that we can look at processing chemical free. Now we're moving into cyanide free. Um, but it also has a nice byproduct of gold, which keeps us from having to dilute at low prices for financings.
Yeah. All the stuff you've done with the coins and everything and the Yukon Mint, pretty inspiring stuff, really.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we really try to find ways to involve the community more in our projects and look at creative ways to do spin-off benefits.
Yeah. And those are potentially leveling up here with the Brewery Creek mine. The potential economic impacts of that, right, are a level above.
Oh, definitely. When we had the Yukon government, with the support of Trondok-Wichem First Nation, um, validate and clarify that our water license and our quartz mining license are valid, and we're fully licensed and
Yeah.
able to have an immediate restart of a gold mine. Yeah, it just changed our reality instantly, and so we've been keeping up with the plant and the bulk sample, but very aggressively running at Brewery Creek. And somebody said, they asked what our biggest challenge was, and I said it was running as fast as we can for as long as we can.
Yep. Is it a marathon? Is it a sprint? Is it a relay race? Really, it's got
Yeah,
to
it's
be a
it's
relay.
everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And the
Yeah,
team
you're
and
right. It's a
everything,
relay.
it comes together, right? Thinking about who else permitted a project effectively this year. I wonder the timelines on that, and for other people who are trying to keep up with you, and things have happened quick at Brewery Creek.
Yeah, from the outside it looks quick. We've been plugging away quietly behind the scenes, working on our due diligence and presenting the information and having everyone look at it. And so it's a different type of assessment process, but it worked. It came together. Honestly, you're right, very quickly. And it's, I think, still hard for people to process that. Okay, you have licenses, but you need some sort of approval. And no, this is it. We are fully licensed, and we've submitted a restart plan under the current existing licenses to the government, and we're moving equipment onto site. we're doing a feasibility study coming up on the reprocessing of the heap. We see that as the best way to start to keep to move into a revenue stream easily, and also to do it at a low capex.
Yep. Wonderful. And the recent $9.3 million financing there further to those goals.
Yes, yes. We've already completed a first round of drilling, and we now have 2 or 3 rigs on site as of today, and we'll be looking at both expanding existing resources and upgrading existing resources. In that, we have heavy equipment on site. We're starting to do some testing of the heap to see what level of crush we should do there, and we're fixing up and expanding the mine roads at present. So it's underway, and we just announced some expansion to our team. It was something that we looked at. We're always trying to see how people will see us from the outside, and what we saw was that how could a junior exploration company move a mine into production, and really it's expanding the team. So we've identified 2 people that have joined the team, and they're working away on engineering and metallurgy, and so it's coming, and sort of methodically, step by step, and lots of work in the background, but extremely exciting. The community is behind us, and the First Nation is behind us, and there's a lot of responsibility there to meet expectations, but we have the support, and Brewery Creek is a proven commodity environmentally and economically, so the risk is reduced, and there's a lot of history to show what the costs are. So I think we're in a really good place to look at getting the money in place to really get this going very quickly next year into development.
Wonderful. Good for you. Regards to James Hesketh there, Nevada experience. I've talked to him once before about Viva Gold, was very impressed by him and the vision that they had putting that company together in Nevada there, waiting for the right time and then really acting quickly and boldly when the opportunity presented itself, right? And Robin Fraser, I don't know, but a good metallurgist is mission critical, right? So great to see you adding operational bench strength.
Yeah, Robin's been with us for about a year. He is the person behind the plant at Watson Lake. He improved it and created all the efficiencies there,
Wonderful.
and really taken that up. We met him because he was involved in a couple of projects in the Yukon. Minto Mine, they brought him in to do some upgrades on the mill. So he knows the Yukon well, and Jim Hesketh has a really interesting background. You're right. He's an operator. He is known for managing costs extremely well. Very, very practical, experienced engineer. 2 really neat things about Jim. He ran a barite mine in Watson Lake in the 80s, and was a very profitable operation. So he's actually run an operation in the Yukon. And when he was with Rothschild, he did a complete economic evaluation of Brewery Creek in order to extinguish their debt back in the 90s. So he walks into this with a complete working knowledge of the Yukon and the project that he's working
Amazing.
on. And
wow.
Yeah, he's just giving us some very, very sound advice that's very practical and managing costs well.
Impressive. Yeah, I didn't know about his Yukon experience there. It's these connections between Yukon and Nevada and the small world of mining, really.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, Jim's a great guy. So we're all going to be up at site at the end of the month. We are bringing our technical team together up there, all the Yukon regulators, First Nation business arm, and we're just walking through the entire plan, just making sure everybody knows exactly what we're doing and how it fits under the current plan and where we're going to start seeking amendments down the road. And I just joke it'll be like Nevada, just serial amending as you go and expand over time.
Yeah, and that benefits the Yukon too if they can get a bit more experience with experienced operators who can bring that and put them through their paces, right? It may be that they haven't had so many opportunities to deal with that from a regulatory, perspective. The last few years have been pretty tough, right? So,
Yeah, they have, and it's. I've always said that if they can clear up the Brewery Creek licensing confusion, I think it really is going to help the Yukon. So, you know, as somebody who's got strong ties for many years to the Yukon, I'm happy. As the CEO of the company, I'm even more happy. And I it's just one of those. It's because it's proven brownfields. It's in a great spot.
yeah, yeah,
45 minutes by road from Dawson, 20 minutes to their airport, which now is landing 737s from
yep,
Alaska. So,
yep.
you know, where do you find a mine 20 minutes from an international airport?
Yeah, in a place that wants to permit it with people around who understand gold, it's pretty impressive. Yeah, it made an impression on me when going up there and seeing it. And it was the first time ever being up there, and not the last. Wow.
Oh, great, great. Yeah, I think you have to be on site to understand how much infrastructure was left. When you
Yeah,
see the pits and you see the foundation for the ADR plant and the ponds there, there's millions of dollars in cost savings from having all of that left in order for a timely restart. And we're thankful to Alexco and Viceroy for the way they managed the project before us.
yeah, it's a testament to closing a project well, or temporary closure,
Yeah,
as it may be.
yeah,
And
exactly.
the a question to you about the mine plan, really. It's good to hear you talking about bringing all the stakeholders together there to start um, setting some detailed expectations around what this is going to look like. I wonder, with your shareholder base and stuff, it's a pretty sophisticated mining groups, generally, so they probably understand exploration through production. But there may be other people out there who have been following the exploration side of Golden Predator, and there may be some uh, transition, when you start talking about putting something into production, and even just, testing the heap to begin with, right? That really, it's not testing waste piles. No, this is something different again. And, the details of the facts, like that it was a run of mine, break of mine ore that was put on the heap back then, and there's this opportunity to crush it down now, and all the detailed kind of engineering and metallurgical stuff that comes up with that. um, how are you finding, your communications around that with your various existing, supporters, and whatever new audience you might be reaching out to?
Yeah, you've raised a really good point, and it's something that we've discussed with a number of, especially our larger shareholders. Once the licenses were confirmed, we immediately were in Toronto meeting with them, and a great deal of support. That doesn't always represent every shareholder. They like the exploration stories and the new discovery, but I think a lot of people are realizing that the increase in the price of gold isn't having an impact on the juniors yet, and it's if you don't have a revenue stream or a potential near source revenue stream, it's the risk in the juniors is still too high, and at some point that will shift. But the companies that have the Brewery Creeks or the plants or the bulk sampling are the companies that I think are going to follow the producers into realizing some potential gains in the share price. And I think most people are starting to figure that out. And as much as we like the exploration play, we still get it in Three Aces. It's not going away. It's just Brewery Creek's taking a big chunk of the company's mandate now. But I think people have come around to the realization that this is a good thing, and as long as we have the capacity to do it, and I think adding team members solves that big concern. It's a good thing,
Yeah,
and you know we're moving into it in a sort of a three-phase process. We're going to rebuild the existing infrastructure and reprocess the heap, which was run of mine, and we'll now crush it. And that's, there's a resource on that pad that's identified in the PEA. We'll do a feasibility study and be able to raise money to expand the mine. And then the second phase, we'll finish the current mine plan. And then the third phase is we continue to expand outside of current identified deposits in the license. So really, if we did the whole thing, it's looking at an 85 million capex, which is very small, relatively speaking. And by staging it, we're able to even reduce that further.
Yep.
So it's not like we're a $30 million junior that's trying to build a $500 million mine.
Yep.
We're trying to make it realistic and stage it with the right people over time.
And that's reduces the risk to some degree, right? Because there's always some sentiment about be careful of a junior trying to put something into production. So, to have that coherent plan with the different phases and to spread some of the capex out over time as needed, like important stuff.
Yeah, and we benefited from the plan allows us to rebuild the existing infrastructure, an ADR plant and assay lab, and
yep.
All the records are there. All the construction drawings are all there. The hatch engineering drawings of all of the deposits. We're 20 years of data and information. We're in a very good position that most people don't end up in, and it's the other thing that's really interesting about Jim Hesketh is he's actually restarted 2 mines by reprocessing the heap first.
Really?
And yes, and his comment was he wouldn't reopen a mine without reprocessing the heap, not only to recover the gold that's in there, but you want to stabilize the pH, and you do that by crushing and agglomerating. And the other thing you want to eliminate some of the existing pathways that have created for the cyanide flow because it was run of mine. So efficiencies, but yeah, so nice to have somebody that's actually done this twice before us.
Well, and what a niche thing to do, really. It's not a strategy or a part of a plan that a lot of people maybe the first time that they've really heard about that, and for the junior investing audience.
Yeah. When I took over as CEO, and I'm not a geologist. I don't have a technical background, business and social licensing, communications. We looked at it. We didn't want to put a geologist in, and specifically because we didn't want that skill set sitting in the office. You want it in the field. You don't want to become emotionally involved with your projects. It's a business. So, to us, it's the same thing moving into to mining, into development and mining. I've got a great geological team. They're out there. They see some really great upside at Brewery Creek that they're looking at now and going after. Let them focus there, get the right people on the mine development and the mining, and run it like a business. And just it's all about the team.
Well, and so often we see accountants really right at the top of real producers. So, there's a huge administrative aspect of the permitting, as you said, the ongoing permitting activities, right, that come along with being in production. I guess your shareholder base kind of gives you a pretty strong sounding board, for corporate finance strategy.
Yes, yeah, they do. And Bill Sheriff, our chairman, he's raised, I don't know how much money, over $200 million over time.
Yeah.
He's got his strengths. He's a master's in geology, but he keeps saying he's more of a prospector than a geologist, and he loves deals, and he's good at raising money. So, we've got people there that can take care of those types of responsibilities and let us focus on the administration and execution.
Yeah, and the deals, again, from what I've seen about the deals around you guys, it's been impressive. And it's amazing, yeah, to see it breaking new ground there. Looking forward to if other are there any other mines kind of like Brewery Creek that you know of that were put on temporary closure, in the Yukon, really?
No, I don't think so. Um, they uh, there's some that they put into permanent closure,
Yep.
and I think BMC Kutzakaya was temporary, but I think the license lapsed,
Yep.
and so Brewery Creek really, it was from the beginning, they were very clear that they were reclaiming it for uh, a restart. So it didn't go through the full decommissioning of the mine. It only was temporary. And what an amazingly smart strategy by the company and the regulators. And the minutes are in the water board and they're in the governments of the day that this was being reclaimed temporarily for a restart. And when the price of gold happened, it would just go. And some people changed over time, so this message sort of was lost. But
Yep.
it was all there, and to me, it's the, the secret is put it into temporary closure because, as you've heard in Nevada, the best place to find a new mine is at an old mine.
Yeah, that's amazing. And one of the questions I had from a friend was about, are there any roadblocks to permitting at Brewery Creek? And I tried to explain to him that he wasn't asking the right or he seemed to have missed some of uh, the news and what's happened here. But I wonder, like, what's the story of Brewery Creek, really? Like, where did you guys get it, and when did you figure out this, temporary closure thing and this pretty clear, direct pathway forward?
So the story of Brewery Creek, we picked it up in 2009. A gentleman by the name of Joe Harrington was involved with the reclamation of Brewery Creek and was with Alexco. And he happened to be sitting on a plane next to Bill, sheriff, and I was from the Yukon, and Bill and I were going out. And anyway, Bill liked the Yukon. He wanted a project, and Joe said you should check out Brewery Creek. And Bill was very clear that I don't want a project that doesn't have road access. That I want to see a mine go into production. I don't want to spend 20 years building a road. So that's been always one of our requirements on a project. Anyway, so through that
Yeah.
relationship with Joe, we optioned Brewery Creek, and then eventually, a few years later, ended up with buying the whole thing 100%. Spent 3 years exploring it, increased the resource fivefold in 3 years. Had a great success rate in exploration, about 80%, and stopped because of market conditions and the challenges that we were running into with the licensing, and just waited for the right time. And it was about a year ago I started looking at the licenses because I could see, at some point they have timelines, and I didn't want to hit that timeline, and I just could not find proof that it was in permanent closure as I was being told. And so just spent months in the data room, pulling everything and reading it and building a chronology, and finding the source of the information. And then Toronto-Quitchen First Nation,
Yeah.
I made the case with them. I showed it to them. They did their due diligence. They agreed that my opinion was correct, and we presented it to the government, and the government went through justice, and they said we were correct. It's fully licensed, and it's something your friend's not. Your friend is very representative of most people.
Yeah.
The feeling, okay, so you've got a license, now you need some sort of approval. No, it's so we just, I think, have to keep repeating the message. We're fully licensed, and it's for an immediate restart. We obviously need money, but first get the licenses first, then get the team, and then get the money. It's over a gram per ton, first world jurisdiction, not too many new mines sitting there in North America ready to go. So we're pretty comfortable.
Yep.
But yeah, it's it's kind of hard to absorb that. No, you're absolutely ready to go now. We had to apply for a fuel storage permit in order to increase our size of our tank on site, and then that was it. We did it, so we're done.
Amazing. Yeah. It may be that people are waiting for some exploration drill results, or some sample, some surface stuff, or drilling in the old heap to give some sense of some guidance on what that might look like. But uh, it's not so clear to me that they will get the routine sets of information that they might expect, from a developer. You guys are kind of jumping into the queue at an unconventional spot, a pretty advanced spot, right? To just have this appear. Uh, Perfect for a gold bull market in a bullish summer here. So
Excellent. Yes, you're right. We are not the typical story in a timeline that usually goes. So
yeah,
um, it's
we'll
and it will, people will get it. I have no doubt. It's just a matter of us communicating in a really clear way to help.
Well, and your actions too, right? They speak loud, and building out the team, that's an important message there. And I wonder, guidance looking forward here on news flow, right? Is it um, should we be waiting and watching for any exploration work at Brewery Creek in the near term, or is the immediate path forward to do with other things, around the financing?
No, I think you're going to see a little of both. A lot of exploration. We'll have 3 rigs going. We're
Yeah.
doing some core drilling deep. We've always stopped once we hit the sulfides at Brewery Creek, and it's shallow with the oxide, but the sulfide's there, and there's a resource. And we found some old studies from the Viceroy days where they looked at biooxidation on the sulfides. So we really want to put in some deep holes on the sulfides and start to explore that potential, because we think it's there. And then we've got a large oxide program planned. Those results will come out over time. First 20 holes are already done. We've also been doing some sampling. I don't know if when you were at Brewery Creek, if they took you by the cliffs, the big orange cliffs, but that we did some soil sampling there because we just can't believe there's been very little exploration in the southern part of the project, and
Okay.
so that's already underway. Looking at the heap and what we're doing there will come out, so there'll be a steady news flow from this point.
Great. And it's interesting to hear that, because no, we didn't go to the cliff. I think I saw them from overhead, but next to the river, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I saw that from a distance, but didn't hear or didn't register the plan to go and do some, initial first pass surface prospecting work there. But very glad to hear that, right? The expansion potential on that project area is significant. Looking off to the east and everything there, it's impressive stuff. Some high grade hiding around as well. Important. Um,
Definitely, definitely.
and it just occurs to me, like, you think of the Lassonde curve and this discovery excitement, and then that kind of quiet time when all the development work is being done. You're kind of parachuting into that dead spot, but you're really into the latter stages of it, because the timelines are accelerated, and a lot of the work that might register as boring development stage, resource definition exploration programs that quote unquote the markets don't care about, to some people, right? That's arguably new information, and certainly
Hmm.
it's new information in context of this particular business plan for this company. So it continues to kind of fascinate me in all those ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not your normal project, but it's yeah. I think
And
I
you
think
own 100%?
Yeah, there's some royalties on it. This
Okay.
is the other thing. About April, we put out a news release that we uh, bought back the Franco-Nevada royalty, and it was on the first 30,000 ounces of production, which in the first year is significant. And yeah, a lot of people didn't understand why we were on a project that wasn't going anywhere, why we were buying back a royalty and extinguishing it. And but we were in the midst of our due diligence on the licensing, and we saw that where we were going to go with this, as long as everything fell into place, and the need to get rid of that royalty. So we're working to reduce our royalty burden. Um, there is a NSR held by Alexco that we would like to see reduced, and there's an NPI for a portion of the project, but definitely increases the economics getting rid of the first one, and not our only one that we hope to reduce.
Wonderful. Good to hear again. Competently managed in all aspects here, from what I can tell, the field work through the corporate side. It's a pleasure to see you guys making good decisions. And just looking at the pitch deck too, it's the IRR number of 45% at $1,600 gold. And then, seeing mention of whatever 2000 plus prices more recently, it's pretty,
Yeah,
it leaves my head
and
spinning a bit.
that's in Canadian dollars. That's 1,600.
Yep.
So yeah, and right now gold's sitting at about 2,000 Canadian,
Yeah.
and so and we see some ways to actually improve our IRR.
Yeah.
We'll be redoing some of the work. There's a lot of cost savings that weren't realized, we think, in the PEA, that we can make this a much more efficient project.
Give a shout out to Whittle Consulting. Gerald Whittle had an event in Vancouver this week, and they do some pretty neat stuff with mine planning, optimization stuff, and they have some toolkits around sustainable operations and community engagement that the industry has not used at all. Um, and there's a lot of potential to do things better in all that. And again, that's another example, important aspect of the business where you guys are leading.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we've always said that if we can't bring the community along with us, why would they want us there? And
Thanks for
so, sorry, go ahead.
Well, thanks for mentioning the April news release too, right? That's another example of something that might look a bit unconventional or surprising to most junior mining speculators, right? But if you have a slightly different perspective, it can make all the sense in the world. So,
Oh, exactly, and really our approach with community relations and First Nation relations is, you come in early and often, and you don't wait, and you build those relationships over time, and that relationship with Trondheim has put us where we are right now, and you don't forget that as you're going forward, and spend more time and more energy trying to help create ways to keep the wealth local. And mining, uh, sometimes we forget that. We get bogged down in so many different things, but it's an important thing that pays off down the road.
certainly. Janet Lee-Sheriff, CEO of Golden Predator, GPY on the TSX Venture, NTGSF on OTCQX. Thanks very much for talking with me today.
Thank you very much, Peter. Have a great weekend, and we'll keep you posted.
Thank you. Goodbye.